To create the working thesis and works cited for the argumentation essay, I'm just going to open my Office 365 from the Wallace State homepage and click Word or Create, and then I can click Document. Either one gets me the same place, and I'm going to set up my document. I'll make it bigger so you can see across the screen. The first thing I do is change my font to Times New Roman, then 12 point. These are questions on the final exam, by the way, so you might want to make sure you review all the things that are required to set up a document for writing any assignment in MLA format. The first thing is 12 point Times New Roman. The next thing is spacing, so I can click spacing over here. By the way, if you're not seeing this same content here, if you click the far right ribbon display options, classic ribbon may be what you're seeing on your own computer. Many computers have this option, but you can change that to what I'm seeing by clicking single line ribbon. And then that puts your line spacing over here. Under more options, it's not obvious, it's just 3 dots. So that's where your line spacing is. Hover over line spacing, click 2. Double spaced is what all content should be throughout every assignment. And click that line spacing again. And be sure to click remove space after paragraph. Again, this is a question on the final exam for English 101. Even that remove space after paragraph part. If you don't do that, it adds an extra almost full space every time you hit the enter key or the return key. Okay, so the next part of setting up a document is to put your heading. Now watch this. A heading does not go in the header. This is also a question on the final exam. The header is where you're going to put your page numbers, but we're going to do that after we do the heading. If we put the heading up here in the header, it will go on every page, and you only want it on the first page of the document. So you put your name, and then you put my name, and then you put the class. Should I put my actual name for instructor so that my students know who I am? And then the class. If you were online, you will put online. And then the date, and the date should be in MLA format. So put the date, not 26, 23. So notice that there are no commas in the date. The reason for commas is because generally Americans write the date with the month, and then the day, and then the year, and so you have the days right next to each other, or the numbers right next to each other for the day and the year. So to separate that, we use a comma. But we don't need to do that here because we have the day, and then the month separates the day from the year. Now I have abbreviated September. This is how you would do that. So when you abbreviate, make sure you use that period there. But you can write out the full month. I don't mind if you do that. And then you don't have any punctuation anywhere. So this is a question as well on the final exam. So make sure you know how to write the date in MLA format. Now, for the working thesis, I will encourage you to go ahead and try to center a title of your essay. Try to come up with a title of your essay and actually do center. So this is not a very creative original title, but this is a title placeholder for now. All of the content on your working thesis assignment should be what you have when you're just starting out, just some ideas. Okay, so I expect that you will continue to revise all of the content every time you do an assignment. I really expect you to read the feedback on your content and revise when I tell you to revise something. So don't continue to lose points for the same things I've asked you to fix. So after I've centered a title, hit enter one time, and then go back to the left, and then your working thesis, you can type working thesis just to establish that this is what you're working on, and then come up with a thesis. I'm going to take a minute to think about this part, and you should do the same. So every time I demonstrate something, you should pause the video and follow me. So don't expect to watch a video all the way through and remember all the details about what goes in the heading and that sort of thing. Speaking of what goes in the heading, I told you I would show you the header. So do not click on header to do your last name and page number here. Instead, go next to home, click insert. Still, we are not going to click header. We're going to click page numbers. Click page numbers and click the top right one. And then you don't see the page number, but if you scroll up in this white part, you can. Now this hashtag means page, and it's going to automatically fill for you. So do not change that part. Do not add a number there. Just type your last name. And I'm typing the word last. Hit space. I'm not typing Morris because some students will type Morris, but put your last name. So highlight this, and then you get this little pop-up where you can change the font to match the rest of the essay, which is important. If you go away from that with your cursor, you can go back to home with this still highlighted and find how to change the font the way you did it initially. And that's how you get your page numbers in. Watch, when I click out of it, it disappears, and that stresses students out. But when you download it and send it in for a grade, they will be there. And you can, when you hit File and Save As and download a copy, you can open that copy and see your page numbers there. All right, so thinking about the working thesis, I am going to pause and come up with some possibilities based on what I read in my my mode sheet, my instruction sheet for this assignment. So looking at possible thesis statements. So read through these and maybe come up with something unique to your career or to something that interests you about AI in general. It might have more to do with social things or politics or things like that. Some of these thesis statements are better than others. I think the best ones address the other side respectfully and then offer a solution or a position that you are arguing for. All right, so this is what I came up with just as I sat here and thought about it. Again, the best thesis statements address the other side. So I addressed the more positive nature of AI on one side, and then my concern, and I did not punctuate that correctly, so oops, I'm just hitting the wrong key today. So always reread your content and make sure that it is what you intended it to be, because sometimes we hit the wrong key or misspell something. Also, don't be afraid of spell check. That's one good use of AI, isn't it? So some irony of creating an argumentation essay on AI, and my concern is about creativity and critical thinking. So now I need to include my works cited, my preliminary works cited. I need at least 3 sources. So to do the works cited on its own page, you click Insert, Page Break, and it takes you to the next page. Some computers just show a line here, so don't be scared if you just see a line there and yours is still looks to be up here with the working thesis. It will be okay. To find my sources, I can just go into the class and I can click on the pre-approved sources for the argumentation essay. So you have multiple sources here, so you should be able to find 3 easily enough. And notice that someone just so generously did the works cited for most of the sources. So make sure your sources are in alphabetical order. But let me show you on one of these sources that sometimes you may need to make some adjustments. For example, this source, when I look, if you scroll it to the bottom, and I got this off of the Alabama Virtual Library through our Wallace State homepage, and here is the source citation in MLA 9th edition, which is what we're working on. So all of this is in MLA format, except you need to capitalize all the meaningful words of every title. So you need to change that, and I have demonstrated that here. Another thing that is wrong with this one is that it does not acknowledge this author, and that makes me crazy. So I realize it's a byline, which I suppose is a little different for the Washington Post. They have this person writing all the time and editing this and really collecting all the information. But I would like to give this person credit, and you do that by last name, comma, first name at the beginning of the works cited, which I have also done here for you. So if I wanted to use this one, I could copy this, but watch, the formatting will still be off because Blackboard won't let me do a hanging indent here for you. So if I go to my content, I need to center the title works cited first. So I go back to home and center and capitalize works and cited. Where's my cursor? Here it is, works. More than one work, works, plural. That is on the final exam as well. And now I will paste my content in here, and I held down the control key, the shift key, and hit V. To copy, I did hold down control and hit C to copy that content from Blackboard. Now, here's what happens when I hit Control Shift V. It copies into my document with the formatting I have established in the document, which is why it is in Times New Roman. Watch, if I did not hit the Control Shift and if I just hit Control V, it's going to look like that. So here's some things. You have to change some things either way. So in this one, I need to change WashingtonPost.com to italics. The other one already has it in italics, but this one is not in Times New Roman. Another thing, so Washington Post is the container. It's the website that contains this article. Also, this database, Gale and Context Opposing Viewpoints, that should be in italics because all containers are italicized. All right, and the rest is fine, except, and so this one, if you wanted to change it, you would need to highlight it and change the font to Times New Roman and 12 point. Okay, and so now they're the same, right? So exact same thing. What if I don't have the hanging indent, which I don't? You can highlight all of these, all of your sources at the end if you want to wait till the end. Notice there is no extra line space in here. Click the options button here that we did for line spacing and go down one more to hang special indent and click hanging, and it does a hanging indent for you. Now do not put the same source twice, okay? I was just demonstrating the different methods of pasting it to the document. But you do need at least 3 sources here on your works cited. So if you want to use a source that is not one of these pre-approved sources, then you need to email me and ask me about another source. I have other videos online showing you how to do works cited for videos. So if you wanted to use a video, you could. Your in-text citations will have the timestamp though, so make sure that you watch the video on that as well. I will post links to how to do this assignment again in here as well for you. And in the assignment link, which you will be able to find in the red link content that contains all of the assignments for this whole essay. And I will post this new version here. This is an old from a different topic, and I don't want you to choose one of those other topics. So that's it. Let me know if you have any questions.